Welcome to another edition of the Dad at Arms channel. I'm your host, Dad at Arms. I also go by Colt. And joining me today, we've got some fun guests. I've got Daniel Benedict and Johnny Havoc. Why don't you guys go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourselves, who you are and what you do.
You go first.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
So Johnny Havoc, John McDonald. I'm the taller, less attractive half of Simple Tricks and Nonsense. My wife Rebecca, she's the prettier, shorter half. We do conventions, we do cosplay stuff, we make props, costumes, all those artistic type things, drawings, 3D work, customs, stuff like that. We met Daniel at PowerCon years ago and we formed a friendship, and then we always kind of looked forward to going to PowerCon to see the same people and hang out and this and that. And then over time, he's always dropped hints of like, hey, might have a project for you. Like, I'm going to need to email you. We need to talk about some stuff. So.
Very cool. Very cool. And you guys do a lot of really cool costumes and stuff like that. I always see whenever you guys post, they always look fantastic and amazing. And
thank you.
And it's more than just, He-Man related stuff. Like you guys do all sorts of stuff. It's really cool. Very impressive.
Just to comment on me, like approaching you guys, like I didn't want to my gut instinct was to run up to you guys and grab you by the shirt and be like, listen, you guys are the most amazing people ever. You've got to work on this. But I was just trying to play it cool, but hey, there might be a project.
Yes.
But anyway, I'm Daniel Benedict. I am on here because I'm trying to make a sequel to our He-Man fan film that we did 10 years ago. And I have always just been obsessed with He-Man my entire life. Always been at PowerCon, helping Val and enjoying meeting everyone and just being a part of the fandom. And I've done PowerCon. I've done the audio video stuff. I was on Roast Google Dinner podcast, He-Man.org. Most of my YouTube channel is He-Man related stuff. And so anything I do creatively, I try to tie it into, He-Man and She-Ra because, the awesomeness, right? It's the greatest thing ever. Thank you for having us on to talk a little bit about the Kickstarter that's going to launch, the relaunch of the Kickstarter, March 28th in conjunction with Toylanta.
Awesome. Very cool. So go ahead and give us a little bit more information about what the project is. What is Fall of Grayskull for anybody who might not know?
Okay, so Fall of Grayskull was a He-Man fan film that we did. We filmed it back in 2014, and it was a short film. We screened it at first at Grayskull Con in Germany, and then various places all over the U.S. in 2015. And people liked it or seemed to enjoy it back then. We over the years, I've just I wish that I could have made it better. There's so many flaws with it, and so many people all the time, more than you would think, ask me when are you going to do part 2? When are you going to do a sequel? And I was always like, never. That was terrible. A whole movie that was completely green screen, that was a nightmare. And I had never even really done green screen. When we first started the idea of making that movie, it was going to be sets, and maybe some green screen, but we had no money. So even though we had a Kickstarter that was successful, that money was gone, like that. So we just decided to do it 99% green screen, and that is challenging. But technology is much better now, and I've become a better filmmaker, and so the time is right, and so many more people, more talented people like John and Rebecca, and all the people, artists and costume makers, and people that are in the film making industry-ish and independent circuit of it are like willing to help and like band together. And we made a Kickstarter campaign last year, and we asked for the moon. I was just going for the gold there and wanting to make like a feature film, like with all sets and stuff. So we asked for 250,000, which, you know, I knew there was a strong possibility that wouldn't make it, but I wanted to try. And we raised 85,000, which is absolutely amazing for a crowd-funded fan film. Mm-hmm. But it was Kickstarter, so it's all or nothing. So we didn't get any of that. So now we're relaunching the campaign, smaller goal, you know, streamlined everything, and it's way more attainable this time. So yeah, fingers crossed. So yeah,
awesome. So with the previous attempt for the sequel, you said you were planning to do a feature length film. Has that changed now with the smaller scope of what you're doing now?
Yeah. So
or are you still going for the feature length?
Well, it's probably going to be a short film this time, and how short, I don't know. I mean, the last one was 37 minutes, I think. But I'm doing stretch goals. So like if we meet certain goals, you know, like more characters, you know, if we reach our
it just sounds funny because it'll be like, hey, if we hit this, we'll put this character in there. It's like, hey, if we hit this, Wildor will have a cameo. You know?
I mean, yeah, you're not really wrong. But
that's awesome, though. That's awesome because it gives something like for people to strive for.
Yeah, and it's not like a gimmick or anything. It's like literally we can't afford to like pay for the costumes, actors, effects. So yeah, but like if we reach a certain goal, I mean, definitely we will turn this into a feature. I've written a short script version, like a first draft version, and just to see, kind of like get my mind wrapped around it. And Rob and Sean Lamb, you know, from Filmation, they're going to be writing the actual script.
Awesome.
And so like I gave it to them, and, you know, they had a lot of good things to say about it. They had a lot of critiques and stuff, which, you know, is great because, you know, they're the masters at this, not me. I don't take credit for anything like that, but yeah, so it's going to be a short, you know, the initial funding will pay for a short film. And by that, you know, I'm just going to guess it's probably going to be about 40 minutes. If I had to guess, just completely, you know, off the top of my head, but, you know, the more goals we reach, the more characters we can put, the more story we can put in there, all the way up to, you know, a 2-hour movie.
Very cool. Very cool. So you're just kind of putting it out there, whatever, you know, stretch goals you reach, you just keep climbing as much as you can, basically.
Yeah. Cool. We want to make something, you know,
right.
If it's not the biggest, best like feature, you know, we still want to make, you know, the best short that we can.
Very cool. So what kind of, at this point, and when you're ready to relaunch, what are some of the stretch goals that are in place?
Okay, so like the first stretch goal would be 2 added characters, two more sets built, and the locations added. Same thing with the next stretch goal, but I'm unlocking 2 rewards. The next goal is another character of the Horde plus 2 more of the rewards from last time, and then all the way up to the original goal, which basically is like, you know, as if we had reached the goal last time, basically.
Yeah.
So
cool. Before, with some of the rewards that were part of the campaign, you had like some comics and sticker sets and things like that. Are you doing anything like that this time around, or is it just, again, kind of up to reaching those touch points?
So yeah, it starts off with with. Why can't I see my campaign? Yeah, there we go. So we have comic book, sticker set, mini posters, digital screener, T-shirts, soundtracks, DVDs, Blu-rays, stuff like that. That's the main. That's the starting point, and then and there'll be tiers of like come and be an extra in the film, be a producer. There's bundle packs where you can get like all of the stuff. One of the tiers is, and also Rob Lamb is going to storyboard the film for us. So
cool.
One of the tiers is one of his original, hand-drawn storyboard sheet for the film. So stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fun. That's great.
What's cool is having somebody like Rob on board, and with his history with filmation, and them always being very mindful of how can we cut corners, what can we reuse, how can we make everything as efficient as possible, to have him kind of at the helm of it and to look at it and be like, what's doable on a fan film and what's doable, in Hollywood are two different things. And he's the perfect person for that.
Yeah, I agree. When the campaign is successful, not if, but when it's successful, I'm going to meet with them and kind of list out okay, these things have to happen, these characters have to be in it, and these are our limitations currently. So try to blah, blah, blah. So they might have their work cut out for them. I don't know, but
I hear you talk about stuff, and when you were talking about the first one, you sounded like George Lucas after he finished the prequels, and people were like, "Oh, are we gonna get more Star Wars? This and that?" And he's like, "No." It is he was so anti. I'm never working on that again. It's so I can hear some of that frustration where it's just oh yeah, or the same thing where you're talking about well there was all these things I wanted to do with it, but I was so limited. And he said that he's I was limited by the technology at the time, So thankfully you're not pulling a George Lucas and you're going to put in a random CG monster walking across Tatooine or something.
Yeah, I did go back and so at Toylanta this weekend we're screening the original Fall of Grayskull, but it's the remastered version, or I went back and I didn't I didn't change any of the compositions of the shots, but I did go back and tweak the shots and enhance them and recolored them, and I kind of made the story more. I took out a lot of frames and some shots to make it flow better and not drag as much. I feel that it does in some parts, and I took out a little bit of dialogue here and there that it just it's it feels
up.
It's very it's more polished now, and it's I'm not quite as embarrassed to let people watch it now. So yeah, that we'll show that. We'll show that this.
Well, you better not be, because it's Friday night, right? You got a screening Friday night.
Friday night.
It's coming.
So, but I did not add any CG creatures walking in the background. I should though. I should go back.
Not yet.
Fun.
So
Not yet.
So back to the tier thing. You're talking about the difference between if we don't hit the stretch goal, it's going to be digital blood effects. If we hit the stretch goal, we'll actually have squibs.
No, we have to have squibs. The goal is to even with the initial goal, as minimum, green screen and visual effects as possible, and as much realistic sets and
that's going to take a lot of work off your back, though. I mean, having real sets, having shooting on location, that means you're not going to have to sit there and do as much on the back end.
It's more work in the front, which always which I like better, because I want to get in there and edit and not have to spend a week on one shot. That's the worst.
So at Toylanta, any attendees going to Toylanta, there's going to be Fall of Grayskull 2 swag there at his table. So Anybody that wants to get on board, because that's going to be the launch of it, the launch of the Kickstarters is coinciding with this. So if you happen to be there and you want to back things right away and you want to support things, there's swag at his table so that you can be some of the first
walk
people
home
that
with.
you can actually, in physical, in hand, walk home with it. So
that's cool. Very cool.
Yes. So come on down.
Yeah. So as far as like the story elements of what you're wanting to do with this sequel, you're still kind of leaning into the Secret of the Sword style inspiration touch points, right?
Yeah, it's not, I wouldn't even say a reimagining of it. It's just it's Adora's struggle and journey from being a member of the Horde to learning her destiny and becoming She-Ra, and this takes place on Eternia. So like the Horde has come to Eternia to invade, and pretty much a movie version of Secret of the Sword, but different. But in Fall of Grayskull, but not like, so the first one was pretty, like I go back and I watch it, I'm like, man, this is like gruesome and grim and dark. I mean, there's some comedic moments, but like I let my kids watch it, and like man, I was like, I need to, like, they don't need to be watching like somebody getting their face melted off like on camera. So yeah, so this will be way more, I want this to be like family and like fun, exciting adventure, that sort of thing, not as like a horror movie.
Kind of give us that feeling that we had when we were kids watching
the
cartoons and the original series.
That's what I want to feel. I want people to walk away feeling that feeling, like feeling good about themselves and happy that they watched it.
How many Horde troopers do you think are going to get destroyed? Do you have like a...
I don't know.
Because that's going to be the big difference. You're, the evil warriors, you're actually dealing with, face characters. You have Horde troopers. You can just demolish them and
we
drop
can
rocks on them.
Fodder.
Yeah, we will definitely probably kill some Horde troopers. I don't know if I want anybody else to die, but
we want to blow up some Horde troopers.
Yes, absolutely. So Johnny Bilson, who is the trooper costume is made for him, so he better be ready to portray all 10,000 troopers.
He is. He
is.
He's gonna be at Toyland this weekend too. So, or next weekend too. So
very cool.
Yeah. So who else is going to be there? So it'll be myself and Johnny Bilson, John and Rebecca, and Matt O'Toole and Nick Dubes, who is Roboto. Yep. So we'll all be there hanging out at the booth, and there's a panel, I believe, on Saturday. I don't know what time, and talking about stuff.
Very cool. So as far as the characters are concerned, and the people that you just mentioned, John and Rebecca and Matt included, who are the characters that they are portraying?
So Matt O'Toole, Man at Arms. Nick is Roboto. Rebecca, Glimmer. I've tried to convince John to be Bo, but he doesn't want to do it, or he will do it, but he has other characters in mind, and I'll respect that. So like, but Bo will be in it one way or the other, whether we cast someone else as that or I twist John's.
I don't want to perpetuate taking jobs away from Ginger. So
that's nice of you.
Well, it sounds like you're. I like the idea of you had this previous attempt to do it, and you had grand aspirations, which is awesome. We always love it when people shoot for the moon, and I like that you're trying again, and that you're still trying to figure out how to get this thing off the ground and how to make it work for you. And scaling back is sometimes necessary for things like that. So do you feel like you've learned from the previous attempt going into this one on what you can and can't do?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, the more experience you have with these things, the more you can hone that attempt or skill or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've had so many people like tell me like, well, this is why, and this is why, and this is why, and I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. I mean, mostly like it was a huge goal. I mean, like it was
Mhm.
it was crazy, $250,000.
And
So
you said you raised 85,000. That's nothing
yeah,
to
like,
shrug at. Like that's good.
absolutely. At the time I was just like, I know what I want to do, and this is what I need to do it. And let's try. It doesn't hurt to try. It's,
Yeah.
I don't feel like a failure. Well, let me rephrase that. I always feel like a failure in all aspects of my life, but I don't feel especially more of a failure but but yeah, I think that that the money thing, that was the goal was a bit high. That was probably the main reason. Another thing is compared to 10 years ago, like social media is a completely different thing now than it was a decade ago. And so just the amount of content that's out there, and the amount of people on social media, and the amount of and all the algorithms and everything, like trying to get people's attention. So like it's harder, I think, to get people's attention now than it was back then, first of all. Second, back when we did the first one, there was no He-Man media really. There was the Filmation cartoon, New Adventures, and there was 2000X, and that was it. In the '87 movie, and that was it. And there was nothing else, period. And so like that, I feel like that there was more of an appetite maybe for something. Whereas now, there's been several Netflix shows, three cartoons, right?
Yeah. There's
And
the CGI, and then
yeah,
and then Revolution.
and I was trying to get last year's out around April, but it didn't happen just because of it was hard to get everything finalized, and I was waiting on costume and some graphics and all these things. So like it ended up being like later in the year, which is not the best, because I feel like spring is a good time to people are starting to, like, the weather's warming up, people are getting their tax checks, et cetera, and so like
Christmas is a few months behind us.
yeah, people aren't quite as broke. I mean, I still am, but
I'm always broke.
but the movie, the new He-Man movie news broke, I feel like right before we posted the campaign last year, and that may have hurt it a little bit. But another big thing, I think, is like AI. And I know I'm not like against AI or anything, but I feel like that if you right now, if you go on YouTube, you can find like 1 billion He-Man movie trailers that were made with AI. So it's like you're competing. People see that. A person that like likes He-Man, or was a casual He-Man fan as a kid, or now, might think like, ooh, I'd like to see a He-Man movie. I wonder what that would look like. And so, they see the AI videos. Oh, that would be what it would look like. Okay, moving on to the next thing. And instead of
right.
And so that sort of thing hurts. And some people actually thought that like that trailer was like AI, or like a fake trailer. It's because there's so many fake trailers out there. So people, it's hard to like, you want to make do I make the title of the video like, this is a real trailer. This is not fake. This is not AI. These are real actors in real costumes. But so there's a lot of components that I think that worked against us last year, and will probably still work against us this time. But with more eyes on it, I think, because it's been out. It was out last year. More people know about it, and the lower initial goal, I feel like will help tremendously.
Yeah. I think so as well.
Sorry, that was long-winded.
No, that's great. I think that's what
it's just
people
how
need to
everything
know.
is. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much there's stuff competing for our attention constantly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just what we consume. And then there's stuff competing for our money. You know, so and all the time, you know, this toy company, that toy company, whoever it might be, they're putting stuff out there, and it's just like one after the other. And like, how are you able to afford, you know, a giant dragon and some Mondo figures and you know, like a 4-character set and so on and so forth, and then all this stuff. So there's so much competing for your money. The thing that I want people to think about, though, is when it comes to this project, we're not asking. Well, we are, but we have very realistic expectations, and we want people to understand that. Like, if you have fast food X number of times a week, skip one of those meals and just donate to the Kickstarter instead. We're not asking you to like, oh, I have $200 set aside for this figure that I was going to buy. You know, no, instead of buying that figure, put it towards this Kickstarter. It's like, that's not, we'd rather have like so many people on a smaller scale with smaller donations building it up, as opposed to just one singular producer who's like, well, you know, I'm a rich Arab prince and I'm going to go ahead and give you your entire budget.
I'll take that too, though. So
yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
If you're out there,
turn it away. But
no, that's a very good point. You know, people. I mean, yesterday we just had the reveal of the new Mondo goddess figure, which looks incredible, looks amazing. And people in the comments are already saying, you know, we just had the Evil Lyn launch, we just had the Mythic Legions Dragon launch. You know,
we
like,
just had Buzz Off in December.
And it, you know, but that's a very good point. Like, you're not. That's the beauty of Kickstarters, right? You can throw $5 at it, you can throw $10 at it, you know, and still keep your plans for whatever else you're going to spend your money on. You know, so you're not breaking the bank by throwing support to projects like this. And I think hopefully I you know, people can understand that aspect of things.
Yeah. And we're also like, this one's going to be a 60-day campaign. Last time, I think I chose, what did I choose? 45 or something. And then I begged Kickstarter to give me an extension. And they gave me, I think, 10 days or 7 days. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, this time we're going the full 60 days. That way, you know, people have time. And also, like, you know, there's going to be like, if we meet the goal, I'm going to leave like donations open, so you can still, you know, like if you wanted to donate, like, you know, to get a comic book, you know, at the initial, you know, start of it, and then like, you know, you can't afford really to do anything else. Like, you can wait until later on, you know, and then, you know, oh, I want a DVD now, and you know, so that's an option.
That's awesome. Pay for more Horde troopers getting destroyed.
That's right.
Yes.
You know, like, get that tally up. It's like, okay,
for the price of a cup of coffee a day, you can murder a Horde trooper.
Love it. Well, I think, you know, this sounds exciting. I was excited, you know, with the last time we talked, and I'm excited for this go around. And I really hope it is successful. I hope you get to do what you want. And I think hopefully that's another thing for people here, because, you know, we have the official movie coming out that is in the news now, and every time there's a post about it, the comments are full of people giving their takes on it, and how terrible it's going to be, or whatnot, and how they wish that Hollywood could, you know, follow what fans want. I think projects like this is something that fans are doing. You know, obviously you're a fan, and everybody working on it is fans, and so if that's what people want, this is it. You know, this is an attempt to kind of tap into that mentality a little bit.
Yeah, I want to stay as close to the source material as possible in story and appearance, and, you know, personalities and everything. I want to be true to it. You know, the last time we kind of steered away a little bit. It wasn't like, it was battleground Tila instead of like traditional Tila and things like that. But, this time, I want to bring these characters, how they look like, on this poster, to real life.
That's so when the other stuff came out, you see fans cherry pick. They're very cautiously optimistic, but then at the same time they're like, oh well, the sword looks really good, or oh look at that bracer looks really good, and it's like, okay, that's like being invited to a meal and you scan the table of all the different foods that are there, and you're not interested in 90% of what's there, but you're like, oh, those potatoes look really good. Or it's like, so the thing is, when you have
you're making me hungry.
When you have fans that are concerned about the entire meal,
right,
you're not going to have to cherry pick as much. You're not going to have to sit there and be like, well, I did like this one aspect of it. You should at least be able to enjoy the entire meal.
Yeah, very true. So that's what we're going for. If anybody's out there, fallofgrayskull.com. That is that should link you to the Kickstarter. And,
awesome. And I will include all of that information in the description for this episode, because I have some people can follow the links and stuff like that. So we'll do what we can.
Awesome.
Aside from Fall of Grayskull stuff, what I always like to ask people is, a little bit of their background with the brand, with He-Man itself. Daniel, I've talked to you about it before, in our conversations. So I kind of want to ask Johnny Havoc what his relationship with the brand is. So basically,
I'm going to be the imposter in the midst. So I grew up with the figures. I didn't have a lot of them. I mean, I had very, very few. So my first introduction was the figures and the mini comics, and then the cartoon came out and watched it every afternoon. And then that evolved into like the Power Hour and still watch that. And then the 87 movie came out. And the trouble was, like, I was 13 when the 87 movie came out. Whereas, in 82, I was 5 years younger. So I was like absorbing things differently. And then, so in 87, I'm watching the movie. I'm like, this isn't He-Man. Like, that doesn't look like this. That doesn't look like that. Like, where's, I was one of those kids, because you're a teenager at that point. So you're starting to get cynical and
exactly
critical and everything else about it. So, and then that just progressed out of that. I grew into the phase where, I wanted to, not collect toys and all that other stuff. So I'm just a casual fan. And my wife, she's hardcore into it. She's on Fans of Power every Sunday, and they're talking about that stuff.
Nice.
When years ago for a convention, she was like, I really want to do a She-Ra costume. And then it was this, well, what character would you do? I'm like, well, which character can I cover my face so I don't have to be seen? I'm like, well, I'll be Horde, so I can like be completely covered up, and then we'll get that whole, arch rival. Yes. So we did that. And then from that, it was suggested to Val, because people had seen like our costumes for that, suggested to Val, like, hey, you need to get those cosplayers out to PowerCon at some point. Mm-hmm. And then we went to PowerCon, and that things kind of snowballed from there. It was like, it became an incentive to like, oh, well, make a new costume for this, make a new, so it went from Hordak to Manny Faces to Merman, and I'm working on a third version of Hordak at the moment. And each time I'm like trying to make them better and upgrade them. So, but that's where I'm at with it, awesome. And the thing is, my wife, she collects little bits and pieces here. If she finds a good deal on a vintage figure or something like that, she'll go and jump at it. She's got like a whole bin of Princess of Power figures that she does customs for periodically. She uses those as fodder. But the Mondo figures are really, because they're in a different scale, there's something we haven't seen before. We haven't seen that level of detail. They're just coming out too fast. That's just like,
you gotta pick and choose with them when they started coming out. I told my wife, I was like, I really like these figures, but they, they're over $200. So I don't want to go all in on this line. I can't be the kind of person that buys every single figure in the line and collects it to completion, because that's just a lot of money. But I said, I'll collect my favorite characters, which is, I want He-Man, I want Skeletor, and I want Teela.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was done, and I was good until yesterday, and then they showed off that new.
But she has quite a few. The trouble is, we didn't get a Beastman, we didn't get an Orko, and we didn't get a Scareglow, and you kind of kick yourself because it's like you're never gonna get it at that price again. It's gonna be so hard to find, and you're like, it's like, I wish I had gotten that, but you just got to choose your battles.
When the Mondo started, I was definitely determined. I was like, I'm gonna, like, this is the toy line that I want to collect. So I was getting them all. I missed Scareglow. I think it sold out before I could get it. And but when it was movie trailer time, my Mondos went the way of my classics. I kept He-Man. The only ones I have left are He-Man and Teela. But they went the way of my classics collection to help fund the trailer.
That's dedication there. That is dedication.
That's impressive.
Those figures are impressive, man. I miss them, but maybe I'll get a. I really am sad that I don't have the Horde anymore. I really like that one.
Yeah,
like the first one.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Well, very cool. Awesome. Well, I think we've kind of covered everything we wanted to cover today. Do you feel like you've made the pitch that you wanted to make?
I think so. Yeah, sure. Please give us money. We want to make a He-Man movie, please. And She-Ra.
It'll be good. It
will be good.
So, yeah. So March 28th, the Kickstarter launches officially. Yeah, let's do it. We have the power. We can make this happen. It's exciting. Yeah. So anyway, before we leave, I want to let you guys kind of get your accolades out there, or where people can find you. So Daniel, why don't you go ahead and start us off on that? Where can people find you online? Okay. Where can they follow you?
So the main link again is fallofgrayskull.com. That'll link to Kickstarter, but also on Facebook. There's a Fall of Grayskull Facebook page. On Instagram, it's Red Cereal Films. Cereal is in like serial killer, not breakfast cereal. And then just me on TikTok. I guess that's about it.
Awesome.
Nice. And so you just Simple Chicks and Nonsense. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. From there, you'll be able to snowball into other accounts and see more personal accounts, because we're doing different projects on different things. So, but Simple Chicks and Nonsense. Cool.
Awesome. Oh, and also if anybody wants to watch any YouTube videos, look me up on YouTube too. So there's lots of videos we put out last year for the Kickstarter, just to try to be fun with it and get more eyes on it and
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me today on a Saturday. It's always fun talking about this kind of stuff, and hopefully we'll have more to talk about in the months ahead. So thank you, both of you.
We're honored.
All right.
Thank you.
At least I am. I don't know if he is, but
throw me under the bus.
It was fun. Thank you guys.